So that rant's over. Let's talk about certain things. This is a basic life flights kit. So this is something that you order from Rob Hendricks. It comes in a nice little Ziploc. And it comes with one battery box, which is utterly fantastic because you're going to need lots. And it comes with 8 wires, LEDs, and I believe you can buy different kits that have different colors. Again, I didn't look it up, but I remember red, blue, green, soft white, and bright white. And there might be other colors too, but I want bright white going forward, period. I have some soft whites and it just doesn't light up enough for a show. So, and it comes with one basic brick kit. So let me see, I broke my nails yesterday. So it's pretty simple, quote unquote. 8 plugins for the lights and 2 plugins, one for power in, one for power out. So this is basically a jumper cable to the next one. Because you can put 4 of these in a row, 4 of these lifelike kits in a row, basic or advanced in a row, for a power supply that he also has, like a USB power supply or the old 120 volts power supply. Each one of those power supplies can run 32 lights. And I don't know the exact amps, whatever, but these lights don't take up a lot of amps, but they take up a little bit, milliamps, as they say. So you can put 32 lights connected to one power supply. So you have the power supply coming to here, daisy chain to the next one, next one, next one. So you can have 4 of these to one power supply. I think for the battery box, you can only do 2 of these to one battery box because the 1.5 or the 3 volt AAA batteries that are in these things do not have enough amperage to run 4 nicely. You'll kill your batteries pretty fast. But you can run 2, so 16. So I think I remember that from the, again, don't quote me on it. Don't sue me if I'm wrong. But a battery box runs 16 of these. So you connect this to here, thing to here like that. And then you have these things plug into that and you turn it on. Boom, light comes on. Yay. That's it. Okay, so so you can have 2 lifelike kits connected to a battery box or 4 lifelike kits connected to a power supply, either USB or the 120. The issue for me is to try to get these lights to where I want them. Now, overall, you can just use brick-built like voids to run the wires from wherever this thing is centrally located amongst the 8 lights that you want to put in. But the light usually has to go somewhere, and there's non-destructive ways of doing that, and they entail, for me, usually, let me get this thing out, using this piece. This is a half pin, and so you push that into here like that. Either way. And so it pops out the top like that. And then you can either push it through a Technic hole like that, or do it the other way, push it through first and then click it in, or you put it on a, should have been ready for this part. Right, put it on one of these. It comes up. Ta-da! Right? And so if you get the whole thing put together, let me just get this thing all back in. I should just leave this thing together for this thing, for this all intents and purposes. You turn it on, and light comes on. So, and then you light up your building, and then what you do is you get a trans whatever. I'm just going to use, for no real reason whatsoever, I should have been ready. There we go. So this thing is on. You can either put a 1x1 plate over top, trans plate. Come on, there you go. So that looks cool. Let me turn off the lights again. So that's okay. And then we replace that with a 1x1 round brick. Right? And that's okay. It's not bad. And what I'm starting to debate lately if I'm just going to do this, because that is actually pretty cool. Anyway, so that's a Life Lights kit where you're not doing any damage to any brick ever. So, oh, that's dumb. Oh crap! I reset my thing. I turn it off too quickly. No, I think I have to leave that one off now. It's one of those smart lights. So that's what you do. The issue is that if you have to put it somewhere, such as, again, I don't even know why I put it away. Galaxy Explorer time. Because I like Galaxy Explorer. If you wanted to get it to here, if you want to get the light to here, let me just see if I can turn this on. Sometimes this works. I have to redo all the wiring in this thing. I don't know what's wrong with this thing. But there's a loose connection somewhere in here. It's from too many shows. If you want to get the light here, you're going to have to drill through the stud, right? You get the light there. And so what I've done historically in the past, and there's actually videos of me doing it, is I get my Dremel. And this bit, I don't know what size it is, but it's a, I have to find it. It is just a regular small bit. I think it's 1/8. But basically, it's the exact same size as the actual life light itself. So I drill up through the stud from the bottom, because if you look at every brick ever, basically, there's a little tiny pip there that is, so they save plastic, wasting plastic where the actual stud is. So this thing will actually center itself right into that little pip, and then you drill through and it comes out the top, and therefore you still have a ring around the stud, the outer ring. Basically, you're making a, what did I call it? 1x1 non-solid plate. What do you call those things? Hollow plate, whatever. It's basically the same as this, right? That's what you're doing by drilling that hole, and then you can put light through it. That's it, right? And then you put the light up through, and the light comes through, and therefore you can do there, and even on the back and to these. Here's, let me focusing my arm. Let me take one of these things off. There you go, right? Basically, I just drilled up to the bottom, and now the light comes through there nicely. Yes, you're modifying bricks. You're absolutely modifying bricks. And if you are a purist, don't do it. I'd rather have lights than be pure. Lights where I want them to be, which to me on a Galaxy Explorer equates with, this thing shouldn't have fallen off. This lit up, that lit up, that lit up, that lit up, this lit up, and that lit up. That's what I wanted. All 6 of those lit up. Now, on the bottom, what I did for these outer ones, here and here, is that because the brick kit, the basic brick kit, is in the middle where the battery box is, and underneath these 4x10 plates or 4x12 plates, and all the way out to here, I left a 1x X opening from this wall all the way up to here, and you can see that if I take this piece off. I think it's hidden in there, but up past here, it's like it's brick built. There's a void in there. Here, I mean, that piece was broken anyway, and yes, you have to drill through that 4x4 plate. Okay. Yeah, you have to build through that. You have to drill through that, and you also have to take the 2 studs off here because, of course, the wire's there. So there's a lot more modifications than just drilling through one piece if you want to get them out to the wingtips. There's more mods, but you don't have to mod everything. Now, if you don't care, you can modify everything. Take off all the studs, but then you lose that. So I'd rather reconstruct it to get the wire to where it has to be without doing any of it. And so try to keep the modifications as little as possible. There was a point when I first started doing this that I just started taking my Dremel to everything because it was just easier than to take the whole thing apart. It was just, just knock off all the studs, blah, blah, blah. I started not liking that at all. And because I was wrecking pieces that didn't need to be wrecked. So I will rebuild this again. I don't know if you can see it on the inside. I really can't. I will, that's the problem. Putting wires in makes things weaker. It's just what it is. But I will brick build a void to run the wire before I modify a brick. So I only modify the plates and bricks that need to actually be modified. I will build it to get the wire there, the light there anyway else. So the Dremel is step one in what I needed to do. That's still on. And I got 2 Dremels now because that's my first Dremel. That's my second Dremel because my first Dremel got built into. Let me just remove this now and get it out of my way. It's going to be quite interesting because this is where I know, as I said in my last video, this is where I lose half my fans. Boom! Table saw. My Dremel table saw. My Lego table saw. I did this so I could cut these pieces. I took a 2x8 electric plate and I had to cut up into 2x2s, and we'll talk about that in a second. But basically I needed to do this. I needed 2x2s with a Rob Hendricks connection on the end. That's not my best, but anyway, so I built a table saw to do that. And so basically you just take your brick and you zing, zing, zing through a table saw. It's just a little grit, I don't know, spinny wheel, cutting disc. There it is, grit cutting disc. And yeah, and that worked perfectly well for what I needed to do. And I built this thing a long time ago, and I've actually had some other friends say I needed a couple pieces cut up. Basically, you can only cut plates because this blade isn't high enough to cut through a brick unless you flip it over. And that's not going to work very well because, again, the fence isn't the best. But in the end, it did exactly what I wanted it to do, which was to cut up these things into 2x2s so I can use them in my layout to do my standards, my extensions, there we go, my lights. So basically, let's use this one as the example. You have this guy who is on the base plate, and then you can just plug this guy into it, and it lights up. That's it, and then it comes off. So this was ease of use to set up and take down the layout, to have lights on the layout. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Let's just see if I can. It's been a while since I've had this one on. I don't know if it still works, but let's try it. So we know this one works. Usually I do this, not because again you got 90 degrees. There we go. So, and then you just take it off and then you put it down. And so it makes lighting up the layout a lot easier because again, there's going to be lights all over that layout that look like this. And this just aids me into taking apart and setting up the layout when I'm at a show to save time. Instead of trying to plug in wires together from a Rob Hendricks kit. Now they're built in with a 2x2 built onto the base plate, onto those base plates, and to a little thing. I put it away. Actually, I don't have it out here anymore. And so that's oh, actually no, it's right here. Duh. So that's my second Dremel and my table saw. Let's get this big thing out. This is gonna be. I should have thought about this again before I started. There we go. Smash, smash, crash. Maybe big things. Okay. So this is one of my modules for the layout. It's 3 base plates by 2 base plates. Again, smaller than the train guys, but it's just lighter for me to carry around. And everything gets to stay on it because this just goes into storage as it is. And yes, I drilled there. I drilled holes through them. And what happens though for the light? Oh my, of course it's behind there. Grab another one. You can see right down here. Let me just take this thing apart a little bit. Is you have the 2x2 electric plate there, and then this thing would just plug into there, right? And so it would just sit there for the show, and you take it out when you're done, because of course it can't go in the storage with that thing on it. So this again makes and this is all brick built, so no modifications except for the 2x2 electric plate that has the wires soldered onto the end of it. So it is honestly there for convenience sake to allow me to do that at a show. Just drop down a spotlight and that would light up that landing pad and that road piece. So I don't know, I don't mind modifying. I really don't, as long as it's for a just and sound reason. So let's get over here, put that down there. Now I go into my next part that's very, 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 very important to the modification industry, especially when it comes to Rob Hendricks life plates. Soldering iron. And I will say this about the soldering iron. It melts Lego. It really does. I picked this thing up, I think, before. No, I got this over at the sale because my old one died. It's not the best or most robust soldering iron in the entire universe, but it works. And it has two settings, low and high. I turn on high to get it all heated, warmed up, and I put it on low when I'm touching it. But basically, you're melting or soldering. You're soldering wires. So there's a wire coming down here and soldered to the top of one of these two pips here. And then for me, I modified one of Rob Hendricks' life light leads to one LED to go to two because I wanted two spotlights. So instead of having two wires coming all the way down here, I wanted one wire, and then I soldered the two lights together. So that's what I did with the soldering iron. The second important part for that is to get yourself some good shrink tubing, as a definitely must if you're doing soldering and reworking wires for whatever reason. Get the heat shrink tubing, because I used to use electrical tape. And that just gets sticky and gicky and ucky and whatever else ickies you want to talk about. So heat shrink tubing just works better to cover up all your wires that you've soldered together. So that's an important feature, and I actually have to go get more because this is the last little piece I have. And so the soldering iron is not used to wreck Lego. It's just used to solder wires, and sometimes because the 2x2 these 2x2s are, you're trying to get the wire soldered into here. If you touch this metal too long, it melts the plastic on top. So be very, very, very careful with that, because if you melt the plastic on top, then it doesn't have the binding it used to have. This is one of my bins of parts and pieces that I use for my mods. A fake Gruberman that we got from the dollar store one time. I used to have a real Gruberman, but it's long gone, lost. I use this. I used to keep it in the trailer, but it's easier in this kit. This was part of my soldering kit. This was the holder with these things, so I could actually hold the wires together and solder them, but I just find it easier not to use that. I keep a pair of safety glasses when I'm using my table saw. Yes, it's just a little tiny Lego table saw, but that little sanding disc is grit, and if it breaks, pieces go flying, right? And I don't want to go in my eye. So as Bob Vila would say, the most important safety feature, right here. The lighter for shrink tubing, that's it. Solder, lots and lots of solder, and that's fine. Wire strippers, electrical tape, which I don't use anymore. I haven't used these in a while, but it's always in here. I don't even know I have a ruler, but I have a ruler. This thing is supposed to be wet. It's supposed to be in that thing over there for the soldering iron. USB things. These are all parts and pieces. Pair of scissors to cut the wire. I used to use clamps sometimes to hold pieces, but I don't even bother with that anymore. Another jackknife. This thing's full knife. A screwdriver, because some of the things I have required a filled screwdriver, even though we're in Canada. Down at the bottom here, we have some of my failed attempts at whatever I was doing. This was supposed to be power pickups for the monorail going to a 9-volt connector. And of course, the 9-volt wires are just disgusting. It was really sad. I'm just still, that's the one thing, if I could change right now, is to go back in time and tell Lego to or get better European standards or whatever to stop the wires from, because not all of them, but most of my 9-volt wires look like this now, which is just sad. Pair of tweezers, another small screwdriver. So I kept other 9-volt connectors in here, but this is what I keep for helping me with my endeavors to piss people off with my modifications. And I will still do that tomorrow. So let's get rid of that guy. This is a bundle. This is just a bin of wire that I got that I keep on accumulating. This wire is exactly the same diameter, as far as I could tell, exactly the same diameter as the original 9-volt wires that Lego came out with. Because I was making my own leads. I was taking the 9-volt connectors apart and putting this wire on it. I forgot the model number of this. I got this at sale because I have, again, the various gauges of wire. But I wanted one that was exactly the same gauge as the original 9-volt wire leads, and this was it. So I got that little piece of wire. I got some ribbon cable because, again, one of the ideas of wiring that thing was just to have one ribbon cable going through the whole thing and then splitting off like a tree, and then that was that. I got another ribbon cable from somewhere else, a bigger one. These are my old abandoned life lights that still some work, some don't, blah, blah, but I keep in there, and even more life lights. That's about it. This is like this bag full of wires. And what is that? Oh, that's funny. I was looking for this actually the other day. So just and this was my original idea for power pickups for the monorail. Let me see if I can get one out here. I got this at the Modeler's Choice in Hamilton slot car pickups. So I took the brushes off of this thing and I soldered them to the bottom of the bogie and to a wire that's coming out the bogie, and it worked well. This was another one I picked up somewhere. I guess it was from a specific kit, but that didn't work nearly as well. So I tried different ideas to do this stuff and to see what happens. But overall, I think if you go back to my videos, you can see what I did in the end that worked well enough for me. But I do keep these old pieces here just in case I find something else I want to try with them. So I keep all that in here. So that goes away. That's just spare wires and stuff. Oh, sorry, knocked camera. This is my leftover life lights kit. These are the only two I have remaining that are basically still in. Well, I took this one out now, but whatever. Some working lights, LEDs, older ones. This is what I got from Mike Shields when he had the store. Just warm 12-inch leads and stuff like that, and 6-inch leads. This was, and a couple basic kits still that I have to use. This was my attempt at knocking down the RCX output. Let's see, where is it? These are, and again, I wish I knew more like what Rob knows. There it is. These are 5-volt converters. And I went online a long time ago. So again, I got them at sale. So these things will convert 9 volts down to 5 volts, I think it is. A fixed voltage, 5 volts, 1 amp to 2 amps. So I was going to convert USB to, or RCX, to 5 volts. But I don't have to now because Rob built his own. So I bought them off of Rob. But I still have them in here for no reason whatsoever. I'm never, ever going to use them. Because again, I can't make a circuit board for the life of me now. And then my connector kits for, again, the whole base there. I use these connector kits to join all the modules together. So those are in there, and there, and there. And so 2 life lights kits when these are there. So that's fine. But then we got a whole other box because when Mike decided to close up his bricks and mortar, I said, "Hey, Mike, what are you going to do with all the old life light stuff?" And he says, "I'll sell it to you." And I don't know if I've ever paid him for it yet. I actually have to check that out with him. So I have all his old stock, and a lot of it is stuff I don't need to use. Red lights. This one is 6-inch green, blue lights. The other different junior connector covers. This is green because I just use white for mine. AAA battery boxes, blah, blah, blah. So, and then he gets into the other stuff like flashy lights and whatever else that I'm starting to use. And I still have yet to figure out how to use these things nicely in a build, but I'm working on it. Those things shouldn't be in here. So I got a whole kit of life lights wires, random wires that kits that Mike had left over. So thanks, Mike, and thanks, Rob. And then the last one I'm going to show you in this video that's already half an hour long. This is my box of EL wire, and because EL wire was stupid cheap. like stupid cheap, like less than $2 each. So I just went on a buying spree at one point. I tried it once and then I went and ordered as much. There's blue. The 120 volt converter kit came with this much green. I think there's like 3 or 5 or 10 meters of green. More blue, blue, yellow, or orange, clear, which I like. So I just kept on buying blue, yellow, blue. I had yellow, green again, and green. So the reason why you heard blue so much in there is because I had an idea at one point, and it never came to fruition. Again, it's a nice to have, not a need to have. So that's all my EL wire that I haven't used yet. So let's pull this thing out. There we go. So here's the big, huge tower. Let's push it back a little bit and maybe put it in the dark because it's, there we go. So I don't have to hold it. So each one of these circles has the life lights around it, as we see in my videos, including the observation deck and the flight ops tower. The original, and even down here now, has EL wire on it. The original premise that I had was I was going to run a blue EL wire following each one of these sides all the way up, and each because it's 8-sided basically, has 2, 4, 6, 8, the slopes all the way up. So I was going to run a blue wire all the way up on all 4 sides that are like, you have the slopes on it to the top. And I still think that would look phenomenally awesome. It might be a little overkill now, but it would join at night everything together basically. Because all the rest of them are yellow, right? Every horizontal one's yellow. So the blue would be vertical, and it would follow the diamond shape all the way up. The problem is, first of all, you'd have to take that part apart because, of course, there's layer here, layer here, layer here, layer here, layer here, layer here. Like this is 7 parts all the way up. So that was issue number 1. But again, not insurmountable, because then during a show, you the setup, you just run the wire and take it off when you're taking it down. The issue I had, the big issue I had, first of all, is I'm remodifying this entire base again. But beyond that, is I would have to have a way for it to stay with the 2x wide runner here all the way up. And I couldn't think of a good, solid, easy, and it comes down to that, easy way of doing that. Because you got the 1x2 handle, modified plate with handle. That would sort of do it. You just push the wire through, maybe. So it's still a maybe at some point in the future I will do that. But it would take basically a rebuild of every single module all the way through here. So that was going to be put off until I will rebuild every single module. But now I don't need to, because now basically the tower is complete as is. And even the greebling, or the, what do you call that? The staging. So say that because we sold Sandy's apartment once, we had to stage it. So the staging of all the different modules here is already done. So there's no point in me taking it apart just for those wires. And it would be very, very difficult to wire in now, considering all the existing wires that's in there. so I would have to have a whole brand new wiring harness and blah, blah, blah. So there's two big reasons why I'm not adding the blue wire at this time. One of it's I have to take apart every module. And second of all, I have to rewire the bottom modules, which is very, very hard at this point. I'd have to order another 120 volt converter kit too, because I'm already using one for this, and I'd have to get another one because it wouldn't run on it. So it is on hold. I'll say it's on hold for now. Unfortunately, because I think that would look really cool. So that's why I ordered all the blue EL wire, and I'm not using it at this point. But in the end, so we talked about the EL, talked about the life lights, talked about the parts and pieces I use that are third party to my Lego hobby, and I can't think of anything else at this point. I do have a bin, an absolute small bin full of parts and pieces of Lego itself that I've modified that I'm not using now from previous builds, like drilling holes and stuff. So I keep those separate, just in case I want to reuse them, so I don't have to keep on damaging new bricks. I'll just reuse the old ones that have already been drilled through. but I can't find it right now because I haven't had to use it in a while. So there's that. I can't think of anything else. The Handyman secret weapon, I use duct tape sometimes, regular duct tape. But what I really do use is masking tape to hold the wires in place. I hide the wires underneath the base plates and stuff with masking tape because this is actually thicker, and that pushes the landing plate too high off the module. I use masking tape so it's a little smoother. And that just, again, holds wire. Oh, and this yet one more thing. So this stuff is utterly fantastic. This is two-sided, we'll call it tape, but it's more like it's about 1/2 millimeter, I guess it's 1 millimeter thick. This is what I use to stick pieces together because, again, it's just temporary, it's not permanent. And what happens then is, because I had to put the landing plates taped to the modules, the wooden modules, again, for transportation, easy to set up. So I used little tiny squares from this, one in each corner, and crisscross. And so this thing is what's actually keeping the modules taped, or the base plates taped to the wood underneath. And it works well, and it doesn't fade and doesn't get yellow and doesn't wreck the actual base plates. Because I've seen some people use contact cement. Do not use contact cement on Lego. You will melt Lego. I've seen it. I don't think I've ever experienced it, but I've seen it, and it was sad to see because all those base plates were ruined. But do not use contact cement. Use this double-sided sticky tape if you want. And make sure I use because I have double-faced tape in the garage. But the problem is that it did not work well keeping the plastic stuck to the wood. This stuff is very, very sticky, very, very sticky, and it does keep the Lego stuck to the wood. But you only need a little tiny corner, like little squares. But I cut this in half this way, and then I have all those little squares that way, and that's sufficient. 9 of them across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that will stick a base plate to basically anything you want for as long as you want. You'll still have to pry it off, and then you don't even need goopy gone because you just take the stuff off with your hand, off the base plates, and so there's no permanent damage at all. You're not destroying anything. You are sticking Lego together, or sticking Lego to plywood. So that's I think that's about it. I don't think I have anything else in here that I need to talk about for as far as modifications go. This is all I've used so far. The tools I've used, the tools I made, because again, I love my Lego table saw, and why I do it. And again, the bottom line is I try to modify as little as possible, but when it's necessary, I do it with the right tools and I get it done. And nobody can point to anywhere in the layout when it's at a show and saying, oh, look, you modified that. Well, they can point to the copper on the monorail track. So that's it. That's all. 33 minutes. And I will say I hope everybody's doing well. I really enjoyed this video more than the last one because I got to talk. Oh, wait. Forgot this guy. This guy is stupid important. A multimeter. This is testing right here. This is what I test with every single time. Why isn't the light coming on? So, did my soldering job do any? Was it any good? So I got this thing at Radio Shack a billion years ago, and it's still holding up. So I can't complain about it at all. Oh no, this is not my Radio Shack. This is my Canadian Tire one. It's even older. Canadian Tire. I also use this in my trailer when I was doing all my trailer renos to make sure the wires were running properly and so I wouldn't burn down the trailer. So a multimeter is definitely a nice to have on these kind of things. So that's it. That's all. So everybody stay safe, take care, and I will talk to everybody soon.